You must watch all the Slop essays! Don't cry, little Chaz. Uncle YouTube has enough video essays to consume for your entire life. Manic! The boy's bored! Turn on autoplay ASAP! One of my favorite genres of YouTube videos is the Slop essay. I love listening to someone ramble for 30 minutes about absolutely nothing. Me and my friend Manic the Manic Mechanic were told to watch this video. It's called, Is the Chikorita Hate Rooted in Misogyny? I gotta say, this is one of the best Slop essays I have ever seen. It's 27 minutes long and managed to not only say nothing of value, but the creator Cecilily blatantly lies. The reason she made this video in the first place is because the Legend ZA trailer got a lot of people asking, why Chikorita? Chikorita sucks, why is it the grass starter pick, etc, etc. The part of the video I wanted to focus on is at the 18-minute mark. Yeah, everything before that is almost worthless.
I know you have more things you want to say. I see you typing in the comment section. You are going to say that I'm reading too much into it, that the reason why more people dislike Chikorita than usual is because of bad stats and mediocre performance against Johto trainers. But I mean, really? Is that what we take into account when choosing a Pokemon? Is that what a kid takes into account when liking a starter? Competitive viability and type balancing in their region?
First of all, I'd be willing to bet more adults play Pokemon today than kids do. Second, this isn't really an issue of an 8-year-old trying to look up stats on the Pokemon database. Guess what? Kids aren't stupid. A kid can choose Chikorita, realizes it struggles really poorly, and then reset their game and pick Cyndaquil or Totodile. Or they box it and replace it with something that they like better. It's called a starter, not an ender. Just because you begin with it doesn't mean you're guaranteed to end with it. Granted, I'm sure most kids would keep their first Pokemon on their team, but not all. Trust me, we're gonna get into the not all a little bit later. Kids don't need to look up the finer details like base stats and move pools to understand that Chikorita falls off pretty hard in the mid and late game. Her argument also ignores an important question. Who is even playing the Gen 2 games? Until Legend ZA, the only region to have Chikorita as a starter was Johto. I think she's asking this in terms of a kid playing Gen 2 when it came out back in 2000. But it's 2025 now. I am sure that 99% of people who play GSC today are adults who want to relive their childhood. I do not believe a kid today gets done playing Fortnite or watching Skibidi Toilet, they find their dad's old Game Boy, and suddenly they have this huge urge to play Pokemon Crystal. Cecilily didn't even take this into account when she was trying to ask this question. What's really frustrating about this is she blatantly disregards how adults play Pokemon. Nuzlockes and challenge runs have gotten more and more popular with adults. It's a fun way to go back and play a game you're familiar with as you've gotten better at understanding how Pokemon works. She even brings up an article talking about Chikorita's viability in the Johto region.
I will be going by the article written by Vida de Treinador, fellow Brazilian creator, where they list some of these reasons.
And who do you think it was written by? A child that just got home from school in the year of our Lord 2025? Or maybe it was written by an adult who wants to look at the game they grew up with a bit more critically. She even brings up the VGC scene.
Her move pool in Gold and Silver is really limited, and Wolf Glick has named Meganium the worst starter ever in competitive VGC. But I mean, really? Is that what we take into account when choosing a Pokemon?
And it turns out no one uses Meganium at the highest level of play because it's just not good. She doesn't even try to go into this point really in depth because hey, 8-year-olds don't play Pokemon competitively. 8-year-olds don't care about move pools, I guess. Cough cough, there's an entire junior division of the VGC scene that lets kids and teenagers play competitively, but cough cough, I guess those guys don't really care about stats and move pools, you know, cough cough. My biggest question here is why is she framing this portion of her video through the lens of playing Pokemon as a kid? I just don't get it. All this does is muddy the point she's trying to make. But it's the thing she said next that just really made me want to make this video.
Honestly, if your Chikorita is struggling against a Pidgey and a Kakuna, I personally think that might be a skill issue. I actually think it is miles easier to solo Faulkner with a Chikorita than to solo Brock with a Charmander. Charmander is weak against the first two counter gyms, and that was never an issue.
I'm not even going to pretend to say, oh, I don't know Pokemon all that well, but screw that. I do know Pokemon extremely well. I've done a few Nuzlocks. I played a ton of Pokemon games. And guess what? I even made a Nuzlocke video about Pokemon Heart Gold. In this Nuzlocke, on top of the standard Nuzlocke rules, like if a Pokemon faints, it's dead, I added the extra rule that I could not use attacking moves with 100% accuracy. When you're done with this video, I do hope you go and check it out. But the best pick for this very limited run was the Chikorita line. Razor Leaf is a great stab move early on in the game, and it only has 95% accuracy. So yeah, I do have a good amount of experience playing with Chikorita. You know what? I predict that Brock is easier to beat when compared to Falkner. And I'm going to prove it by doing a few solo runs. I'll play both the original games, Crystal and Red, and their respective remakes, Heart Gold and Fire Red, just to be thorough. For full transparency, I have never done a full-on start-to-finish solo run. I prefer Nuzlocks, but I'm confident that I'm skilled enough to play them pretty well. I think this will be enough to prove my point that she just doesn't know what she's talking about. Let's first look at Chikorita and Crystal. I'm not going to go crazy in depth talking about every single battle, but first off, let's establish some kind of metric to judge Charmander and Chikorita on. I added a timer so we can look at how long it takes me to play the game. We can also look at the level we beat them at when compared to the gym leader, alongside how many times we lost. Forgive my bare bones OBS recording, I did these runs at like 3 AM the other night. And I just had to quickly add a stopwatch timer. Let's just get straight to the point. Beating Falkner is hard. In fact, the trainer even before Falkner managed to make me black out a few times. I had to go to the Sprout Tower and level up in order to beat the gym trainer. Beating Falkner is based entirely on brute force. There's no real strategy for a while, it's just spam Tackle and Razor Leaf and hope to get a crit. That's how I won. Level 15, got 2 crits in a row, it took me about 19 minutes, I played all of the runs at 4 times speed, and I lost to him 2 separate times. It is a better result than I expected, but I guess it was a skill issue because I relied on luck getting 2 crits in a row to beat him at a very fast pace. My results with Charmander were way better. I tried to beat Brock at level 11, but I lost. I came back at only level 13, and I got the win on my second try in only 9 minutes. These runs would look close side by side, but I think Charmander is easier to win with. It's faster, and you don't have to do a ton of extra grinding to win. Now let's look at the remakes. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the Sprout Tower is mandatory to beat before you can even challenge the gym, so I couldn't even try to beat the Bird Keeper at a lower level like I did in Crystal. But here's the fun fact, Chikorita is lucky the Gen 2 AI wasn't all that good. Falkner only attacks based on how much damage he will deal. Stab Tackle on Pidgey and Stab Gust on Pidgeotto do the most damage, so they did not ever use Mud Slap. If his birds did use Mud Slap, it would have been a nightmare because Mud Slap lowers my accuracy. It would have been just an RNG, just pray we get good luck kind of run. I know this because in the remakes, he uses Sand Attack. The Heart Gold and Soul Silver fight is way worse. It's now really luck based. So let me ask this, is it a skill issue when Falkner lowers my accuracy by 6 stages with Sand Attack? Oh, I guess every person who's lost a tournament match to a Stone Edge or Focus Blast missing, you know, they just lost because, duh, skill issue. I lost to him twice, and it took me 21 minutes to beat him. The winning fight really dragged on because I had to constantly play around him using Roost. But alongside that, I am able to show my skill and understanding of the game. When Falkner uses Roost, Pidgeotto loses its flying typing, so Razor Leaf becomes neutral damage rather than not very effective damage. So I tried my best to play around that. My Charmander run in Fire Red was the easiest run out of all of these. We get Metal Claw at only level 13, it's super effective damage on both of his Pokemon, and it has a chance to raise my attack by 1 stage. I beat Brock on my very first try in only 11 minutes. Granted, we did survive on only 1 HP, and his Geodude got a tackle miss, so if we got a little bit more unlucky, we could have taken a couple extra attempts. But at the end of the day, luck is a huge part of Pokemon. With Chikorita, I'm relying on Tackle and Razor Leaf, and I missed a couple times in some of my fights, which cost me a win. Even after all that though, the biggest issue I have with Cecilily's video is how she blatantly lies.
And also, have you played Gold and Silver recently? Every single Pokemon has a horrible move pool in those games. Speaking of it, do Falkner and Bugsy even have stab moves in Gen 2? Honestly, if your Chikorita is struggling against a Pidgey and a Kakuna, I personally think that might be a skill issue.
This is one of the most bad faith arguments I have ever seen. She has the audacity to ask, do they even have stab, while showing Pidgeotto has Gust. On top of that, she cropped out the Bulbapedia section showing Bugsy's team, which not only has a Scyther, but that Scyther has stab, Fury Cutter. So guess what? I didn't just play until I beat Falkner and Brock, I also wanted to play till I beat Misty and Bugsy. The Bugsy fight is horrible. As it turns out, yeah, Kakuna's Poison Sting is a death sentence in a solo run. You wanna know what's really funny? The one thing that the Chikorita line is supposed to be good at, being a bit bulky and wearing down the opponent with statuses, it doesn't work against Bugsy. Literally the one thing she's supposed to do, she fails at. I lost to him 11 times just praying for good RNG. Assuming we're not already poisoned, the RNG I had to rely on was not getting poisoned and hoping Fury Cutter missed because it only has 95% accuracy. Also, we could not use the Mudslap TM we got from Falkner because Bugsy's Scyther is part flying type. Eventually, I did beat him because I was 10 levels higher than Scyther, I evolved, I just was able to withstand the storm, I didn't get poisoned, and he didn't get a lucky crit. Now let's look at Charmeleon. Charmeleon did struggle against Misty, but I won after losing about 6 times. I even won using the TM Brock gave me, which I think is cool. This shows that I'm aware of all the tools I have available to me and how to actually use them. Hey, Charmeleon can take a couple extra hits and just deal it back with bye. I was 9 levels over Misty's Starmie, but it was easier to level up thanks to the Nugget Bridge section. Now Charmeleon's fight against Misty and Fire Red was way harder. I lost to her about 13 times and won because Metal Claw raised my attack stat against her Staryu, and the Mega Punch I used against Starmie crit. It required a lot of luck, but the important thing was that this fight had a clear path to victory. Do you want to see what the Heart Gold fight looks like?
I like it cut, G.
Bugsy opens up with Scyther, not Metapod. Scyther now has Stab U-turn. He'll set up with Focus Energy and just crit you, and the next attempt, he U-turned into Kakuna, poisoned my Bayleaf, and when I killed the Kakuna, he sent Scyther back in and just easily won. I'll be honest here, I didn't bother wasting my time with this fight. I got those 2 attempts in, and after playing these games for about 2 hours, I could see that the only way I would win this fight would be to grind out a ton of experience against level 6 wild Pokemon. Yeah, the Misty fight in Fire Red was hard, way harder than the Red fight, but at least the Nugget Bridge area had a ton of trainers we could level up against. It was fast and efficient experience that I could just level up in just a couple minutes. But how about we take a step back and look at one of the things she said again.
Charmander is weak against the first 2 counter gyms, and that was never an issue.
Yeah, the Misty fight was hard, but after Misty, Charmeleon and Charizard do good in the region. It really struggles against one gym leader, and remember, Brock doesn't have any actual rock type moves in Gen 1. It gets Dig for Surge, Erica is trivial because it's a fire type, Koga can be beaten with Stab Flamethrower, and Dig in Gen 1. Sabrina's team is physically weak, so Dig works fine, and it's also super effective against Blaine. Charizard is immune to any ground type moves Giovanni has, so overall, the rest of the gym leaders, it does fine against. Charizard might struggle against the Elite Foreign Champion, but it is winnable with some good luck, and you'll probably be over-leveled with all the rare candies you pick up. The problem with Meganium is that after Bugsy, it still struggles. It's so bad that I'd argue that the Trade Onyx Rocky should be considered the de facto 3rd Johto starter, at least in the remakes. Look, I could really go on and on about the Johto region and its flaws here. We all know about the horrible level curve the region has. Because of this, Meganium can beat guys like Price because he'll probably be over-leveled. But riddle me this, what the hell can Meganium do against Lance's team with 3 Dragonite that are all quad resistant to Meganium's primary attacking type? Oh, you could hack the Meganium to have hidden power ice, but would a kid know how to do that? And on her point that every Gen 2 move pool sucks, no it doesn't. Compared to today's far wider move pools, yeah, they all might look bad. And granted, there are some Pokemon that really get shafted, like Gligar has no stab ground type moves, it doesn't get Earthquake or even Mud Slap. But that's just one really bad example. The word we need to use isn't bad or sucks, but rather
her move pool in Gold and Silver is really limited.
There are plenty of Pokemon that get good enough moves to use effectively. The problem with Meganium is that there isn't a single thing it can do that another Pokemon can't do better. Yeah, it does get moves like Curse and Earthquake, but those moves are far better used on Pokemon like Snorlax. It doesn't even spread statuses the best. That goes to Jump Pluff because it's faster than Meganium. Obviously, I didn't play perfectly in these runs, not even close. I made a lot of mistakes, like not saving my game after grabbing the Citrus Berry before Misty's gym in Fire Red, but as spur of the moment runs, I think that these are good enough to prove my point. The question wasn't, is it impossible to beat Falconer with Chikorita? It was between Charmander and Chikorita, which one beats the first gym easier. I'll admit, I went into this with some bias against Chikorita. I didn't think it would do all that well, but it turns out it didn't do as bad as I thought it would. I beat Falconer with only 2 losses at a relatively fast pace. But I would still argue that it is easier to beat Brock with Charmander, and that doesn't even include the entire rest of the game. If you don't like how I did these runs, you know that is okay. Once again, I am not a solo runner. I didn't give the Pokemon perfect stats, I made a ton of mistakes. Some of the wins were pretty lucky, just as some of the losses were pretty unlucky. I am not going to judge Chikorita's Heart Gold run to Charmander's Red run. Like, that would just be way too unfair. I just wanted to show how easy it was to answer her question. Pure and simple, I think Cecilily just doesn't know what she was talking about here. I can only think of 3 good explanations as to why she framed this portion of the video like this. 1. She's too stupid to read and understand the fucking game she is talking about. I doubt this because she managed to get Bayleaf into the Master Ball rank in Scarlet and Violet, so I am sure she is very aware of the shortcomings the Chikorita line has. 2. She hired an editor to put this video together, who just doesn't understand what she's talking about and didn't edit the video well. The editor screwed up and made her look stupid because she didn't bother to watch the video before uploading it. 3, and what I assume to be the case, she just doesn't care. She wanted to make these claims and hoped no one would notice, that no one would call her out on it. In case anyone is wondering, this is not some kind of setup for a joke a minute later, like, oh, I gotcha, you probably just paused the video and didn't listen to me finish the statement. It's not like that. She doesn't even say Scyther. Let me ask this. If you didn't care enough to fact check yourself, why the hell should anyone take your video seriously? Why the hell should people listen to what you have to say and think she knows what she's talking about? The previous 18 minutes might as well be completely thrown away because it's obvious you just don't give a damn. When you're willing to crop out key information to prove your point, every argument you make might as well be disregarded. You might be wondering, why did I go through all this effort to make this video? Why did I spend a couple hours playing these runs just to answer what's obviously supposed to be a joke question? I know the skill issue line, it's a joke. I do get it. But remember, the main reason she made her video in the first place is because she saw a bunch of people make jokes about Chikorita being one of the starters and how it's useless. She looked at simple jokes on Twitter and decided that they are rooted in misogyny because it's everywhere when you know how to look for it. On top of that, a large part of her video before these statements that she made are about how Nintendo prioritized boys over girls in their marketing for the Pokemon series. She doesn't like how they excluded a large demographic of people, but she is perfectly fine with dismissing a large demographic of adults who do care about stats and move pools. These things do matter when you're doing a Nuzlocke. But she dismisses these points by saying, doesn't every move pool suck in Generation 2? Oh, if every move pool sucks, you know, Chikorita just sucks a bit less. Well, how about this? What if Chikorita sucks the most in a generation where every move pool sucks?
Maybe I could love myself. Maybe my life could have a greater value. That's right. I am no more or less than myself. I am me. I want to be myself. I want to continue existing in this world. My life is worth living here.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
If I tried to make the argument that maybe girls just aren't as interested in the series back in the 90s when compared to boys, you know what? She'd probably cite Adam Conover of Adam Ruins Everything to prove me wrong. She wouldn't hesitate to, actually nerd emoji me.
According to a nice video I watched by Adam Conover,
but when she excludes the people who look at Chikorita critically, nah, who cares about that? It's okay for me to do it. You know, who cares about looking at it? You know, 8-year-old kids didn't care. I didn't care about it. And because I didn't care about it, you know, it's not a big deal. Hypocrisy, thy name is Cecilily. This is why I called this video a slop essay in the beginning. It is just 27 minutes of nothing, a couple of history lessons about Pokemon and Nintendo's marketing. And when she does try to make a point, it is just blatantly wrong and misinformed. But you know what? Maybe I'm just a huge misogynistic sexist. Maybe Ash in the first season of Pokemon rubbed off on me a little bit too well.
As if your sense of direction's so bad you can't find yourself in a mirror. You crack mirrors!
I want you to consider this an opportunity to put those women in their place.
Yeah?
Let's blow those whining women back to the Dark Ages right where they belong.
Yeah, okay.
This video is not about how I hate that she's a woman who plays Pokemon. This video that she made is filled with so many bad faith arguments that just do not hold up. So there you go, I am finally done with this spurgy autistic rant. If you liked the video, you know, give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Big thank yous go to all of my Tism Wranglers for supporting my channel directly. If you want to hear someone talk about Cecilily's video from start to finish, please check out my friend Manic the Manic Mechanics video. Or if you have already seen that video, please check out my Pokemon Heart Gold Nuzlocke where I can only use inaccurate moves. It's a fun Nuzlocke I did, I really enjoyed it, and some good, straightforward Pokemon content. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.